Today we're going to quickly discuss how to get the most out of your practice time, whether you're learning a new song for your cover band or just working on a new phrase or lick. I think we've all heard that repetition is a huge part of practicing because teachers preach this all the time, including myself. But I think oftentimes it's misunderstood in terms of how you should repeat what you're practicing. So I'm going to break it down into two areas as to how you should properly use repetition during your practice session. So the first part of your practice is learning how you actually play the piece. In other words, which fingers you're going to use, the arrangement, and then maybe memorizing the order of the notes that you have to play. This is the part of practice that you do slowly. And at some point in this part of the learning process, you really do need to commit it to memory because you don't want to depend on charts for part two that we're going to discuss. Here's a real-world example of something that I learned so I could show a student. So this is the first line from the song Blackberry Blossom, and you'll see it uses a lot of the same notes. So what I had to do is simply take it super slow and teach myself the best fingering that I needed to use, as well as just the order of the notes. So that is not up to tempo, but when I started learning it, I had to learn it like this. And so on and so forth. So this part of the practice, I'm simply teaching myself the order of the notes and then committing it to memory because there's no way I can raise the tempo on that if it's not committed to memory. Once you make it through the passage and you've got the fingering figured out, that's when you start repeating it. But keep it slow for now because we're simply trying to train the fingers what to do. And this is going to make it so that we can push tempo in the next section. So work on it slowly, and I would say do it 5 to 10 to 15 times in a row. Don't move on to practice something else. Always use repetition once you've learned something like this to make sure it sticks. Once you've got it committed to memory, we do part two, and that is where we push tempo. So it's impossible to move to part two if you don't fully have the section that you're working on memorized because it's going to fall apart completely. You got to have part one done. Part two will then be so much easier. And here's how we do part two. You want to push tempo by playing it until you start messing up a few notes. So if I can play it at this tempo, I played every note and they were fine. So this is where I need to push it until I start messing up. Don't get hung up on the idea that, oh, I have to play it perfectly, because if you just spend all your time playing it perfectly, you're never going to push tempo. Push tempo and start messing up. I'll do it. Okay, so I got that one. I'll push it one more time. Okay, started to mess up there. One more time. Still didn't really miss any notes, but my notes aren't pure. Okay, I'm going to keep pushing tempo. Okay, now I'm starting to fall apart. Bad notes, bad notes. Totally messing up now. Okay, it's terrible. Okay, so I need to back it back down. That's okay. So I started to hit wrong notes, and my notes weren't pure, and my timing was bad, because I'm not very good at this song. So that is the point where you want to be, though. I'm pushing tempo, and I'm not good at that tempo yet, because typically what happens is you can play something very slowly and practice it slowly, and it's perfect. But your technique is different when you get fast. So you don't get better at running by practicing walking, right? You gotta practice running. I could play this whole song with downstrokes if I play it slow enough, right? But that's not how I need to play it. I need to play it with alternate picking. So that's just a small thing, but when you play faster, typically you're doing smaller movements, And there might even be some tension in your playing that you need to work on as well. So work at faster tempos where it's just starting to fall apart on you. So when you're playing it fast and you're missing a couple of notes here and there, this is when you need to do repetition. Once again, repeat as many times as you can, because I realize we all have different times to practice in, but make sure that you're at least doing 5 to 10 times. Think about when you go to the gym, you don't just pick up a barbell and do 1 or 2 reps. That does nothing. Make sure that you're doing enough reps on one song, and that's why I kind of recommend that people in their practice sessions, if all you have the time for is to work on Blackberry Blossom in that one practice session, then do it, because those repeats are more valuable than you working on 10 different songs during that one session. So once again, just to summarize, part 1, learn the arrangement of the notes, the fingers you're going to use, figure that all out, and commit it to memory slowly with repetition. Part 2 is when we push tempo. We have everything committed to memory, we're not reliant on a chart, and then we are focused on our technique and pushing tempo. So I hope you found that information helpful today. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button. It really does help my channel. And if you would, please subscribe. A great free way to support the channel is if you're already shopping for any music gear like strings or picks or amps or guitars, you can go through my Sweetwater affiliate links down below in the description. It helps support my channel in a small way, but doesn't cost you anything extra. Let me know in the comments down below if this approach to practicing has benefited you. And I really appreciate you watching. I'll see you all next time.